Eden Christine Halliday Executive Lecture Series. I'm sorry, I got a little feedback there. We're thrilled you're here. We're grateful to have Bubba here. We'll talk about him in just a bit. I think I mentioned earlier that we have some lunch openings for this week and next week. And for those of you who walked in a little bit late, I'll talk to you about the importance of maintaining relationships. Because a week ago or so, our speaker canceled for today, and I ran into Bubba and said, "How would you like to speak this week?" And he was grateful. I was grateful that he said yes, and I think he was grateful that he got the invitation. So we're thrilled to have Bubba here. Bubba is the proud father of 8 incredible kids. So if he looks tired or falls asleep during the lecture, you can understand that. As a serial entrepreneur and angel investor, he thrives on investing and advising startups. He's the founder of Launch Leads, which was recognized on Inc.'s 5,000 list and was acquired in 2020. He's also done some ventures that didn't quite make it. Maybe he'll talk about those as well. Bubba has contributed to Inc.com, sharing insights on entrepreneurship, startups, family, and dad life. His active lifestyle includes mountain biking, outdoor adventures, board sports, volleyball, and CrossFit. He's earned numerous accolades over the years, including, recognition on Inc. 5,000 multiple years, Utah's 40 under 40. You still there? Or have you?
I passed it.
You're now on the 40 over 40. Techstar Builder alumni and others, among others. Bubba is also proud to have been named Emerging Executive of the Year in 2009 and received several top awards from organizations. He's originally from California and Mesa, and now lives in Utah with his family. Please welcome Bubba to the stage.
Woo. All right. Check it out, you guys. All right, so that clap was good. But if I'm going to put it on video, can you guys just make it a little bit more so it makes me feel good? Can you guys do that? You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go! Let's go! Woo! Here at UVU, you guys, let's share a little bit about my story, some career tips. Maybe you guys want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to share this on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Please feel free to follow me. You guys, I'm so stoked to be here. This is just a great day. Now, something that I just did there, I know you guys are all on social media, I'm assuming. Is there anyone that's not? Is the brave souls? That's amazing. You know what? There's pros and cons about socials. I've been in that world for a decade, and I know I'm probably on the older side. So no TikTok-y for me. I'm just sticking with LinkedIn and Instagram. I guess that's my demographic. I did just pass into my 40s. I'm 41 years old. I know I'm probably seem ancient to you guys, but at least I feel like I was a student just yesterday. And so please, I put this up here because I want you to connect. If you wanted to be able to stay in some sort of contact, this is where to find me. So LinkedIn and Instagram, that's where I stay most active. And you can find out all about my personal life on Instagram. And then on LinkedIn, it's a little bit more of that whole career world, if you even want to know. Today, we'll go over some of that stuff. But how many of you guys have started a company before? By raise of hands. Okay, just a handful. How many of you would like to start a company at some point in your lifetime? Okay, quite a bit more. That's helpful to kind of get some demographic. How many of you guys are from outside of Utah? All right. Okay, this is good. Kind of gives me some insight. Here's another question. How many of you guys are in a serious relationship? This is not for me. This is for your neighbors. Or married? How many of you are serious? Okay. And then flip-flap. How many of you guys are single? Go ahead and raise your hands. Come on, own it. Own it. Good. Now look around. This is probably a good place to meet somebody. You should. I just entered that single world in September. My divorce finalized. I'll be honest, not my favorite thing to go through. I would not recommend it. But that is a new world that I face. So don't worry, I'm not coming to the university for that. Please no. A little too old for that. But let's go ahead and walk through some of this world. And then I can't wait to answer some of your questions. Because I know I was a student sitting in these exact chairs, although I was at your neighbor across the way, but that's okay. And I loved being able to ask detailed questions to the entrepreneurs who would come and speak. The lecture series was my favorite class of all time because I got to really hear the real nitty-gritty stories, not just like the hero piece in Forbes magazine, but the actual real stuff. Hopefully we can cover that today, okay? Let's see what we got. Oh, okay. This is what I'm doing today. I'm going to start a little bit from like where I am and then go backwards, if you're okay with that. Today, it was about 2 years ago that I started a venture capital syndicate. What this means is it's not a fund. A fund is where people would give me money and I would go and make investments on their behalf, and they would have no choice of what investments I did because they're trusting me with those funds. In a syndicate, what happens is it's essentially just a group of my network or friends. And when I personally write a check into a company, I invite them to write a check along with me. But they get to pick which deals that they join. So in the investment world, this would be considered venture capital. And venture capital typically focuses on investing in startups. And I love technology startups. That's kind of where some of my background is. But this is what I'm doing today. We can go into accredited investor terminology later. I'm not going to go into that just yet. But this is where I'm at today. And then, can you help me get down here? Okay. This is my cue that it's not a finished slide because we're actually going to go to my LinkedIn page. So if you want, you can go to my LinkedIn page and you can follow along or scroll because I want you to see where I began and how this whole career happened. So it started, that's it. Can you help me to like go all the way to the beginning of the career thing? If it'll allow you to. Okay, so while he's pulling that up, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was when I was in my teens. None of my family or friends were entrepreneurs. I had a dad that was a doctor. My brother became a doctor. My other brother became a lawyer. My sister married a dentist. So I was for sure the black sheep in the family. They had no idea what I was doing and thought I was pretty crazy, to be honest. I came home from an LDS mission. I served in Brazil, which was amazing. Had such a good time there. And then I got invited to join a startup. So it wasn't my own. I didn't start it from scratch. Let's see if it'll go all the way back to Seedability. These guys had served their missions in Taiwan and found these bungee chairs. I'm not even kidding. These were chairs that were covered in bungee cords, and they wanted to bring them to the United States. And so they just had asked me to join because I had a certain set of skills. And they each had certain skills. Mine was just in the sales world. And so they needed my help to try and help sell their product. And so there it is. So way back in the day, they invited me to come on board, and I had such a fun time. But I didn't really know anything about starting a company. Luckily, these guys had like parents or uncles that had been entrepreneurs, and so they had some kind of mentoring. And then all I did was traveled the country. I got to go to like 22 different places and do trade shows, conferences as this young single person, and that was all paid for by our company dollars. It was awesome. Talk about a life experience to go and just meet all these people. I do remember trying to act and pretend that I was a lot older than I was because I was meeting with 40-year-old guys like myself now. And as a 20-year-old, I felt like they're not going to take me serious, especially with a name like Bubba. Like, this is ridiculous, right? Now, you might be wondering, where the heck did I get Bubba? Look, I was a fat baby. The name stuck. We can all be friends. You can call me Bubba. It's okay. But anyway, so I'd go to these conferences, and they would look at the 3 or 4 of us that were there, and they'd be like, oh, you guys must be, MBA grads or something like that. And we're like, yeah, right. This is ridiculous. We were barely, 21, 22 years old. It was fun. So anyway, I had a lot of fun. But got started as a student. And one of the big key takeaways that I want to leave with you guys today is one of the absolute best times in your life to become an entrepreneur is right now as a student. Okay, literally, there's so many people in the world who want to help you when you're a student. The second you graduate, nobody cares. They literally do not want to help you. Because if you called somebody and said, hey, I'm a student and I'm working on a product or a project and I would love your feedback, or would you take a look at this? Or people are usually like, oh, okay, yeah, student, I'll help you out. But if you just go in and say, I started a company and I'm selling this product, no way. They're not going to want to talk to you. So as a student, there's also incredible resources. I'm assuming you guys have access to all of UVU's entrepreneurship resources, right? Please know you've got competitions, you've got mentoring, you've got help, and you've got classes, you've got all of these things that you can do. as a student is absolutely by far the best time. You're probably thinking to yourself, there's no way. How would I do that as a student? I've got all these classes. I've got tests. I'm working a part-time job. The reality is you have more time now than you will ever have, because by the time you get married and you have kids and you've got a mortgage, you have to, oh, there's my alarm. Not for this, don't worry. You have to take care of business. Your life is so much busier the older you get, in my opinion. And so now is your exact time. Okay, let's scroll up a little bit. So after this, I guess the seedability, I was able to then sell my ownership to my co-founders. And I went and bought a townhome, bought my wife's wedding ring, paid off some school debt, because the company grew and I got about 10x what I invested in the business, which was a huge win. But let me be very clear. That sounds really cool in numbers, like 10x. I got $5,000 lent to me by my parents to invest in the company. And I got 50 grand back out of the company. So numbers wise, 10x is like, yes, it was just 50 grand. But it was still a big deal to me as a college student. 50 grand was a big deal, especially way back then. So I sold that, and then I felt like I needed to get a little bit more working experience. Another tip we'll talk about is when you do start a company, being able to focus on an expertise that you already have. If you're starting a company, then you want to think about like, well, what do you love? What are you passionate about? And what are you really good at? Where do you have resources? Where do you have assets? And so for me, I was in that sales world. I had experience as a salesperson or in a sales manager building sales teams. So you can scroll up a little bit to launch leads. So the company that I started in 2009 was purely just based on the experience that I already had. And you can keep going. I should say it on there somewhere. There, nope. Launch leads is going to be up a little higher, I guess. So, but luckily I reached out to some mentors. We'll talk about that in just a second. Almost, keep going. It must be higher because I sold it in 2020. That's it. Okay. And so what essentially happened was it was a service-based company. It didn't need any technology. It was literally me going out to a company and saying, hey, can I help you sell your product? And that company was like, well, okay. I mean, sure. Let's see if you can do it. And when I told them what I would charge, I was like, this is back in the day, but I was like, hey, $4,000 a month, and I will set up appointments for your salespeople. And they were like, really? You do this? I'm like, I'll totally do it. And so they let me try. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business card. I literally just called the company and asked them if I could help them to sell their product for them, but not as an employee, like as a separate entity. And as I did that myself personally with no employees, again, no website, nothing, I had some pretty good success because I had experience and a little bit of expertise in that world. So I offered this service to the company. As I performed well, they referred me to their friend company, and that company hired me as well. Well, I couldn't do both, so I hired a friend. And that friend came in, and I paid him a little bit less than I was getting paid by that company, and then that just kept happening over and over. And I'd get referred to these companies to help sell their products, and I just kept building a team. So Launch Leads ended up becoming just an outsourced sales team for technology companies. And it was the simplest business that I could have started. It needed no upfront capital. I was profitable day one. And it was something that I ended up then growing and hiring a CEO in 2014. And I didn't have to go to work anymore. So the entrepreneur dream for me is being able to live the lifestyle that you want, having the financial freedom to go and do and be whatever you'd like to do. Launch Leads was that for me. So I built a lifestyle services business. Instead of doing a high flyer tech company and getting on the cover of Inc. magazine, it was a simple service-based company. Okay. So part of the career that helped me was being able to do this. One, I think building a service-based company is really beneficial because you learn how to run a profitable business. So when I say service-based, you can clean windows, you can put up Christmas lights, you can, whatever it is that you're doing to help someone, they pay you for a service instead of building an app or a tech or something. Now, don't get me wrong. The world in entrepreneurship is way sexier when you're building some technology application and it can be scalable and you can raise venture capital. But the reality is you're going to learn a lot from building a company that just makes money. And there's nothing wrong with a lifestyle business Being able to earn $500,000 a year without having to go to work, that's not bad, right? And so something you just want to think about when you're trying to look at what companies you're wanting to build. Service-based companies can be great. Okay, let's see here. Scroll down a little bit, actually, the other way, because I think you did a little bit out of order. Keep going. Right here. Yeah, that green one. So I had this service-based company. In 2014, hired the CEO. He was doing great and continued to grow the business. The reason I had hired him is because, like a lot of you, I was reading in the magazines that technology was the way to go. So I thought I had to try my hand at this whole software venture-backed thing. So I ended up raising venture capital only because I already had an expertise. I already had a successful company. And those venture capitalists here locally, they knew who I was. They knew me because their portfolio companies were my clients. So when I came to them with a tech idea, they knew who I was. They knew I had an expertise. They knew I had already grown a successful company. It was easy for them to write me a check. It's usually not easy to raise venture capital. It's one of the hardest things on the planet to do. And less than 1% of 1% actually receive venture funding. But that's the only reason, is because I had built a reputation and had built some of my career in an industry that was relevant. Okay, so just think about that. If you're looking at raising venture capital, you've got to be an expert in something. You got to have some kind of track record, in my opinion, to be able to do it. Long story short, it failed. This high flyer venture capital company that I was winning awards with didn't pan out. And after 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years of blood, sweat, and tears, we had to shut it down. And I'll be honest, you guys, I went through in the first of my life, depression, anxiety. I felt like my reputation was ruined. I felt like I had completely blown up my life. And it was a really, really dark time for me. And I remember taking this time off and just trying to focus on my family, focus on my mental health at the time. And so I was starting to exercise more. I was worshiping more. I was trying to just get a grip with what was going on in my life. And I'm grateful for that time, because this type of a failure really shook me up and made me think about what was most important in life. And I'll be clear, I did not spend what I would say now was as much quality time as I needed to with the elements of my life that were most important. And where do you think that was? It was definitely my family, definitely my kids. You know, I'm a dad of 8. I didn't have 8 kids at that time. But being a father is the absolute best thing on this planet. Now, I thought as a protector and a provider, I needed to go to work and slay the dragon. And by all means, we do. We need to do that. But there's something even more important than that. And that's going to be your family, your kids. So I want to make sure that's very clear. Making money is great. Having an impact in the world is fantastic. But your family really is going to be that most important thing for you. And so, I'm in this unique phase now, having gone through a divorce, and not ideal. And it makes me think even more. Now I have my kids half the time instead of full time. That's painful, you guys. So whether you're in a relationship or not, try and focus on that, and don't go through what I did. Why not? Learn from my mistakes if you can. Okay, let's scroll up. Let's go. Oh, okay, scroll right down there. So Fun Cheap for Free. So this business ended up becoming called the Page Company. So a little bit of history. The tech company didn't pan out, and so I took that time off. My wife at the time was running a blog, and she asked for my help, and so we ended up working together for about 5 years. We ended up building a whole bunch of different entities within it. So we did productivity mostly for moms, and it was based around social media followers. We had a couple million followers across all of our platforms. So we built productivity products and budgeting products and cooking products, all to help these moms. And we started with digital products. The cool thing about digital products is that you have no inventory. You have no warehousing. You have no shipping. You don't even have to provide a service per se, because it's not based on an hourly job that you're going and washing windows. A digital product was like a course or document, and people could download those documents or PDFs, or they could go into your course. You guys have probably all seen this because it's taken over the world. Our first one was, at least 10 years ago, yeah. And back then, online courses were kind of a new deal. And so it took off. And we ended up having quite a bit of success building this more of a digital media empire around the social media followers, and specifically helping moms. And so that's kind of where I started to enter into that social media world, was back in 2013. And I've stayed in there today. The reason Influence.vc is named that is because we work with social media influencers. After we invest in a company, they come in and help to blow up that company, and it secures my investment a little bit. So that's kind of my world. Okay, that's a little more of the history. Let's scroll up, and then I think we can go to the PowerPoint presentation a little bit. Yeah, there's the Page company. That's where it came. Angel. Okay, you can kind of slowly scroll through this. In 2015, I started writing checks as an investor. I had disposable income. We had already built up our savings, our emergency funds. This is a key important. Don't invest until you've done these things right. Build up your savings. Make sure you have emergency funds. Investing is something you should all do, but please take care of the fundamentals first. Suggesting as a college student, maybe have 1 month worth of savings in your bank account. If you can get to 3, that's even better. If you can ultimately get to more than a year, that's just liquid cash in the bank, is an ideal scenario when you're in a family situation, because you never know. You might lose a job, there may be an emergency, who knows what you need. So over time, being able to save up, living well below your means is a key principle that I would suggest you live by. And we try to teach our kids right now that they keep 50% of whatever they earn. 50% of it is what they have to, they can play with. The others is going into savings or tithing or things like that, that they can only spend half of what they earn. I know that's not always possible, but just goals, right? Goals, you can do that. So you can scroll a little bit slower. So I started writing checks into funds, venture capital funds, real estate funds, oil funds, and then I would make individual angel investments. As an entrepreneur, I love writing checks into companies because I know it helps them. I can bring my expertise and help them as well. So this is a total passion of mine. And yes, I invested in Bitcoin, why not? Back in 2018, that was a good time, right? Bitcoin was what, $6,200 at the time? I think that investment's done okay, at over 100 grand right now. Anyway, it was hard. I think I remember back in 2007-8 when the real estate just went kaput. I don't know if you guys have heard of that story. I was not in a financial position to go and invest in all the real estate that was like pennies on the dollar. I was a little bit more in a position to invest in Bitcoin when it was early, but it comes with time, right? So anyway, you can see I made these different investments. Some have gone great. Some are in that growth phase, and then others haven't. Like you just might have seen Homey.com. They were a big flyer here in Utah. I got in when they were early stage. They grew to $300 million in value, and they went bankrupt. $300 million in value, and they went bankrupt. And so I lost my 50 grand, just like that. When it could have been, my 50 could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars, or higher. It failed. Well, that's what you get when you write a check into an angel investment startup. You have no idea what you're going to get. You try and help them. But you can see these are just a bunch of the companies that I've invested in. That one's a fund. This is another fund. You can keep going. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of where I've been and what I'm passionate about and why Influence.vc came to be. I was already in this investment world. I had played the entrepreneur part, and I wanted to be able to create a place. You guys know Gab. That's actually one of my favorites. They've done really, really well. And I wanted to produce an investment place where my friends could come along with me. And so there you go. Have you heard of any of these companies as we're scrolling through? Yeah, they're good companies. I've been really lucky. These guys just got, this you can pause real fast, this Taurus company just was on Time Magazine's cover for the best invention of the year. Local Utah company. You guys, we have so many cool things going on in Utah, and I got lucky enough to invest in them early, which is great. Okay, I think we can go back to the PowerPoint. Was that helpful to kind of give you a little career history? I wanted to make sure you guys knew that I started literally in your seat, literally. And it's something that you guys can make a plan. I'm a big believer in Stephen Covey's start with the end in mind. So if you have a goal of what you want to accomplish in your life, put that out there. It's the beginning of the year. You can set your goals. If you put out there where you want to be at the end of your life, or in the end of your life seems really far away, but even put 5 years. In 5 years, you want to be in X place. Put that down on paper right now, or even just the end of the year you want to be, and then work backwards. Start with the end in mind, and then make a plan working backwards. So, if you wanted to make $1 million, right? And you say, I'm going to make $1 million by the end of whatever year, then just work backwards. How are you going to do it? What do you have to do every single day, every single month, every single week to be able to accomplish that goal? Or if you want to give back in certain ways, now I can click. Whoa. There we go. You can really start with that end in mind and just work backwards. Make those goals, and you'll start to see that your daily habits will create the future that you really desire. But it's going to come back to what you're doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, in order to accomplish those goals 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years down the road. Geez, I always have a hard time saying this. My kid's mom, I hate saying ex, that's horrible, it just doesn't sound right. But my previous spouse, and I would always say things like, live the first 5 years of that early phase of your life like nobody else will, so you can live the rest of your life like nobody else can. Dave Ramsey said something like that. So if you can live like nobody else will these first 5 years, that means you're probably not going to buy that car you really, really want right now. You may not buy that house that can fit all of your friends and family in just yet. You may not have the newest iPhone or get that really pretty dress that you were hoping for, or handbag, from Louis Vuitton. But you may be able to sacrifice those first 5 years and be as scrappy as you possibly can be. Because if you do, and you've set those goals up properly, there's a chance that you can live like nobody else can for the rest of your life, okay? So that's just key. Also, what you'll find is that when you live those first 5 years that scrappy and that focused on your goal, not spending money on things you don't need, you'll create habits that you'll end up using the rest of your life. And another reason why you can live like nobody else can. All right? And I can promise you it can happen because I'm living it. And it's been amazing. So sacrifice what you've got in the beginning, and then you can make it happen. Okay. Do you guys even care? Do you guys want to be a student entrepreneur? Is that even interesting to you guys? Kind of? Okay. Hopefully that's why you're here. I know you're getting credit, but maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. So here are just some 5 key tips that I'm going to do, and then we're going to do Q&A. In 5 or 10 minutes? Okay, so I'll run through these real fast, and be thinking about the ideas or questions that you want to ask. I'm pretty much an open book about just about anything, so be thinking about those. Even write them down so you can be prepped for it. Okay, please get a LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I know this is not hip and cool, and it's not the next social media app. But if you're doing anything related to any type of business, even just getting a job, you need a LinkedIn profile. So I know there are some of you who don't yet. So literally put that on, open up a new tab, set that aside. You need to have a LinkedIn profile. Even if you think it's for old geezers like myself, please just do it. You'll thank me later. Every time you meet somebody, you sit next to them in class, you meet a professor, you hear from somebody like me, add them. Add them on LinkedIn. They will be able to stay connected with you over the years. And even if I don't remember you, 5 years down the road, you come and apply for a job of mine, and I see that we're already connected. You already jumped to the top of the list, right? Or let's say you want to have a new business partner, or you're trying to find a co-founder for your new deal. Because you connect with so many people over the years, now you have this vast network. And even if you don't communicate with them often, because you're here and maybe you post every so often, they're going to see you and they're going to remember you. And even if they don't, they know that you're connected. I'm just telling you guys, it is insanely valuable to open this up. Even if you're not a social media person, please connect with people, your aunts and uncles, your siblings. There's just so many benefits. You just never know in your life when somebody will be your employee or your business partner or your future investor. Or maybe they'll be your future spouse. I'm not saying you might on LinkedIn, but just, you never know. And you never know what that relationship can turn into. There's always value, okay? So that's the very first thing, and feel free to connect. We already talked about this, so I'm going to skip this. Just do it. Just do it. You can do it. get some mentorship, go to the entrepreneurship offices right over there, get them to help you. They've got all kinds of resources for you. You can get free services. There's like attorneys that will do free stuff for you. I can never do that. I got to pay them $500 an hour to do anything for me. It's stupid, but they'll do it for free for you. There's accountants that will help you get stuff going. There's marketing people that will do it for you because you're a student. They would never do that for me, right? I'm going to have to pay for everything because I'm not a student. These are some of the most valuable things you can do. So even if you think your idea is horrible, you should definitely enter into the competitions anyway. Enter in because it'll get you to practice what will be valuable for the future. Even if it's not good and you fumble and you trip over your feet, you need to practice. And what better time to do it now when it's in the safe student environment than when you have to come to me as a venture capitalist and suck when you're in my office and I'm like, hell no, I'm not giving you money, right? So do it now and practice because this is the time. So there's so many events like this. You guys probably have a website that like has all the entrepreneurship stuff, right? So yeah, you guys should have that. If you don't, talk to your professors, they'll help you out. Okay, we talked a little bit about the service-based, so I think I can kind of smooth this over. But digital or service-based, to me, are the absolute best businesses to start right out the gate. Now look, there are some people who build amazing things like a Facebook, and he was in his college dorm, right? That's unbelievable what he built. But that's like lightning in a bottle. So just realize, 1 in a million, you're going to build this incredible technology as a student that's going to take over the world. Please don't I'm not trying to be a downer, but I want you to have as much success now as possible. And service-based companies, even though you won't get like a 10x multiple on if you were to sell it in the future, service-based, that just means how much money somebody will pay you for your business. If you were to go to sell it. But a service-based or digital product is the easiest thing to get going. There's so much less risk, and you don't have to outlay a ton of capital. You don't have to go raise capital. You don't have to go get your parents to loan you 50 or 100 grand. You can do some things like this out of your dorm room. I guess there's no dorms here, right? So out of your apartment. But these are some of the best, okay? For sake of time, I'm gonna skip some of these ideas portion. Otherwise, I usually ask that question, but. We'll skip this one. No, I won't skip. But the value is your mom is going to tell you everything is cool. So when you come to her and say, this is the idea I have, your friends, your family, they're all going to pat you on the head and be like, oh, that's so cute. Yes, go for it. The only way you know if you have something that people care about is when you go talk to real customers. And those real customers don't know who you are. So that's like going on campus and talking to people, going to another business and selling whatever that service is. Literally you need to go outside of your network and sell those customers. The moment that you have at least 10 raving fans, not just 10 customers, 10 raving fans, then you know you found something that's valuable. People who are referring you to others. Remember how I said I started my company and I got referred, and then that company referred, and that company referred? Because I was killing it for them. I was going above and beyond. I was under-promising and over-delivering, and they loved the service I provided. And so guess what? That $4,000 a month ended up going to $5,000, and then to $6,000, and then to $7,000. I got to $8,000 a month for that service offering until I kind of capped out on that price. And then we stayed at that. I doubled the price because of the value that we were creating. So being able to create value is key, but you won't know that until you go to people outside of your network to sell them. Okay, well, this is the business that didn't work. So being able to be flexible, being able to pivot is absolutely necessary when you're starting a company. You're gonna talk to your customers. Your customers will help you to know what to do. They'll tell you. Now, I know there's some contradictory stories out there, like the founder of Apple. He's famously, famously said something to the effect of, my customer doesn't know what they want, so I will give them what they need. And that's when he was like coming out with the iPod way back in the day. Now look, that was incredible. He totally nailed it. They're I think they are one of the most successful cash flow companies out there. But for the most part, your customers are going to tell you what they need, and you can build it. Okay, this mentor piece. Look, I I'm happy that you connect with me on LinkedIn. I love it. But you probably could understand, I can't be a mentor to everyone. And so usually what happens is you find somebody that's relevant into your space of where you want to go, and then you provide value to them first. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, how the heck do I do that? I'm a student. How am I supposed to provide value to this successful entrepreneur or investor? You have to think outside of the box. What is it that's something, look, nowadays, you can go online and figure out what they might need. Because my life is all over social media, so you can see where I'm at. But if you can produce value to that person first, maybe they would exchange that value for time and the time that they have. None of these mentors are going to expect you to pay them. They shouldn't. I would never expect a student to ever pay me to like consult them. That's ridiculous. But could you produce some sort of value to where, you know, a going to lunch, I love that. It's cute. But people would be like, hey, can we go to lunch? Can I pick your brain? What's the best way to say this and being appropriate? This class. I get asked to go to lunch hundreds of times a month, hundreds. Well, there's only so many lunches. So I can't do that. And so really, those messages just go unread and unanswered. And I feel so bad about that. But you have to look at, if you're trying to go after some mentor who's like the top of their, you know, industry, most likely that's going to be their schedule too. And I'm trying to provide prioritize the most important things in my life as well. And so my family is going to come first, my health is going to come first, my faith is going to come first. And I try to help everywhere I can, hence I'm here, I'm hopefully helping. But just know that if you can be the one that finds something of value for that mentor, that's when they may be willing to exchange some of their time. And I know that sounds I don't know if that sounds horrible to you, but this is just the reality. Because if you just ask for their time, for the most part, it's not going to happen. And those that can share with you that time, mostly may not be the people you want time from, because they have too much time and they haven't prioritized everything. So just think about that. And you'll kind of have to problem solve that with whoever it is that you're going after, okay? All right, here are some books that I want to leave with you before I go into Q&A, because we're getting close, right? These are some, look, there's hundreds and hundreds of books that you can go to. Amazing podcasts out there, all of those. But if you are thinking or considering being an entrepreneur, the E-Myth, it's an oldie but a goodie. But you guys, it will help you to teach you, and you'll learn for yourself what type of an entrepreneur you might be. Are you more of an intrapreneur, where working for a company is more ideal, but then inside of that company, you can be creative and think like an entrepreneur? Those are hugely valuable, and people need to have them in the companies, and so you'll find jobs, no problem. Are you an entrepreneur, and what kind? Are you a manager of an entrepreneur? Like, is your mindset more manager? Are you more creative? That book, E-Myth Revisited, will really help you to know what type of an entrepreneur you are. And then I would suggest, so that would be the first one. If you are in a startup and you're going about it, the Lean Startup will help you to understand how to build it as scrappy as humanly possible. To build an MVP, a minimum viable product. If you guys have heard of something like that before. The quick gist on that is, like if I wanted to build a Ferrari as my car, and that was my company, instead of building a Ferrari from scratch and having enough money to like get a wheel and then having to like figure out how to get an axle, instead I would build a scooter, because a scooter can get me from point A to point B just like a Ferrari can. But that's like an MVP. So I can like, not even an electric scooter, I'll have to like pedal scooter. And if I can build a pedal scooter first with like duct tape and shoestring, that's how you build the very first version of your product or your service. Super scrappy. It won't be the Ferrari, okay? But over time, you can convert that pedal scooter to electric scooter. And then maybe it turns into like an e-bike. And then maybe a motorcycle. And then maybe it's like a Pinto. And then you can kind of get better, and at some point down the road, you can have a true Ferrari, okay? But don't start with a Ferrari. You'll waste way too much time and money, and you'll end up taking a Ferrari to market, and nobody will care. They won't even want to buy it. So start with the MVP first. All right, so write those down. A venture deals is only if you're like raising capital. So if you're not going to raise capital, don't even read it. If you're going to raise capital, that's something you can read, but something there. Okay, this is the priorities slide. Faith, family, fitness, finance. This is where it is. I put this mission plaque up there because people don't believe me that I've been called Bubba my whole life. It's like, it was even on my mission plaque, guys. Come on. There's my kiddos. Look at these kids. Isn't this great? 4 boys, 4 girls, 4 to almost 15. My son's turning 15 on Sunday. And it is just absolutely amazing having these kids. Being a dad is the absolute best. I'm actually launching a brand new company coming up. It's not even live yet, but it's called Fatherhoodmovement.com. And I'm just so passionate about helping dads do it a little bit better that I felt like it was like a calling, like I felt compelled to do it. And now this is just here where to connect. I'm ready for questions.
Let's get it. Thank them for coming. Clap, clap. Video, heavy clap. So let's ask questions. Who's got one? Raise your hand, please. We've got a big group here, right here in the back.
So as someone who's newly married, looking at buying a house, in school, in a lot of debt, I love the idea of venture capital. I love the idea of investing, but that doesn't sound like something I can't even achieve until I'm 40. So what is your advice on the little things I can do now so that I can be preparing to become an investor in 5, 10 years when that's not even like feasible for me right now?
Okay, so you want to be an investor, but right now it's not even possible, right? Well, first of all, you have to make disposable income. So that's the priority, because you can't invest unless you have income. You have access capital that is sitting in a bank account that you've earned. So first things first, you got to earn. Investing only comes after you have money to invest. Unless you're trying to become a venture capitalist, like in a firm. If you're trying to become a venture capitalist in a firm, then go be an intern. Go be an intern at a firm. Like we have interns at Influence, and they'll come and help do deal memos, and they'll help do deal analysis, and they'll get to know what the industry looks like, and then they'll watch professional investors go through the process, and they're learning along the way. So talking about value you can create for a mentor, interning with them for free can be one way to do it, right? So if that's what you meant by getting a job in the venture capital space, then yeah, you get started as an intern and you trade your value that you're creating through that internship at no cost for that mentorship and that education. Does that help? And if you want to actually write checks, you got to make some money first. Who's there? We're here.
Hi. Okay. So my question is around if you want to be an entrepreneur and you're looking to maybe take advantage of a minimal viable product, but there's also a bell curve of like early adopters. How do you find those early adopters into like people who would actually buy something that's not fully vetted, it's not at its ideal state, but it's in phase 1 and it could be something later?
Okay, let's see if I understand. So how do you start the company and get something out there to find early adopters when you just don't know where to go, how to do it? Is that it, kind of? Well, today, you have the easiest time on the planet to find people rather than 10 years ago. Because you have things like social media, you have things like Kickstarter, you have things like Indiegogo, where none of that existed 10 years ago. So if you want to find an early adopter who wants your product, start creating a following. I know that sounds crazy. Not everyone needs to be an influencer. That's not what I'm saying. That's a whole weird, crazy world. But like you do have the ability to create something online, hence a digital product. I would also create it digitally first. So if you can think about your product, how could you do that thing digitally before you create it physically? And it's actually interesting because if you think about the spiritual realm of things, in my belief system, the earth was created spiritually first before it was created physically. To me, and my belief is that even we as beings were created spiritually first before we were created physically. And so I think there's something about creating something with your mind and creating it spiritually first. And in this case, we're talking maybe digitally, is like a preemptive way before you take it physically. And Kickstarter, is Kickstarter like old school? Does anybody even know what Kickstarter is? I talk like everybody knows. Okay, let me just give you the 10-second synopsis. So Kickstarter is a website where you can post a product that you haven't created yet, and people can pre-buy that product. You guys should all go to that website, Kickstarter.com. It's phenomenal. And there's a bunch of other ones. Indiegogo is another one. But you can literally post like CAD drawings, pictures, tell your story of why you think this product is amazing. And then people can pay you for that product before you've ever created it. And then you obviously give it to them at a huge discount. And then they follow along your story and they get the perks of getting that product first and at a discount. So go there, that's a great place for physical products. If you're talking about digital products, like a course or something you can provide digitally, then build a following. People will find you if you unapologetically are authentic online. So if you're passionate about something and you feel like you want to help people that way, then create that content and don't quit. There was Joe Rogan. How many of you guys have listened to his podcast before? Some of you guys, yeah. He's the #1 podcaster on the planet. And the first 5 years, nobody knew him at all. He busted his butt and did podcast after podcast after podcast, and he's wackadoodle. I don't know if you guys have listened to it. He's wacky, right? But he was just unapologetically himself. And when you do that and you're truly authentic, people can feel it. They can feel it. And your people who want to be around you as that authentic person, in my opinion, this works with relationships as well. As long as you are truly authentic with yourself, you will attract the type of people who want to be around you. And so if you're trying to attract that, just be unapologetically yourself and authentic. Okay, question back here, and then we'll come over here.
So, looking through your career, it looks like you've done a lot of different things and you're pivoting every few years, starting new things. And so my wife and I have spent the last 1.5 years building a service business and a digital business, but we also feel the value of, like you were saying, this is the best time to start things. And so when you started new companies or sold your ownership from an old company, I guess what are the things you're asking yourself when you're preparing to make a pivot? Or how do you know when to change?
All right. Because maybe something wasn't working like you had hoped, possibly. Because usually you don't have to pivot if everything's working great. So I'm assuming you're looking at pivoting maybe because something isn't working as well as you'd like. Is that right?
It's been good, but there's other opportunities we think would be.
Okay. So it says it's been good. I'm just going to repeat it. It says it's been good, but maybe there's some other opportunities, right? So I think what you could do is if you're setting goals, right, start with the end in mind. And if you're not accomplishing those goals based on maybe some struggles within the business, then you would look at, well, okay, if we're not hitting these goals, why not? What are our customers saying? What are they teaching me about what I need to change with my business? Because if they're coming to you and they bought your product and then they're returning it, or they paid for your service and then they quit, why? Go talk to them. I know it's awkward, but somebody cancels your service, just pick up the phone and be like, hey, you know what? I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm trying to learn my way around this. You canceled the service that I was providing. I would love to know why. I'm not trying to convince you to come back. I just want to learn and be better. And that person might say, like, look, you left streaks on my window every time you came and washed my windows. And I'm sick of it. And I don't like that. And you're like, all right, I'm going to make sure my team never leaves streaks on the windows. So getting that feedback from customers is going to be the absolute best way to do it. I would not pivot unless you are, hitting walls, and then use your customers to help you understand what that pivot might be. Yeah, usually it doesn't mean like totally canceling what you're doing and starting a whole new deal, unless you literally can't get any traction and nobody's buying your thing. Then you might just have to scrap it. I think there's another book called, maybe it's not a book anymore. It's called Fail Fast. Just the principle is fail fast. So if you have a concept or an idea, charge at it as fast as you can, and then fail. And instead of doing what I did, which is like go into this depression and this anxiety of like, I ruined my reputation, realizing that failure has nothing to do with my reputation. Like all of the investors that had funded that business, they came to me and said, Bubba, we'll fund your next startup. We know it wasn't you. You guys busted your butts, did everything you could, and the business didn't work. That's okay. Some businesses just don't work. So instead of me thinking that I was personally a failure, yeah, the business failed. But it took me months and months to figure out that I wasn't a failure as a human, that it was the business that failed. But the faster you can get to that fail point, the better, and then you can change and do something else.
I feel pretty good to represent this class because you turned down 100 lunches for this week, and he's coming to lunch with us, right?
Hey, this is my give back.
Hey,
This is
let's
great.
thank him for coming. I know a few of you had questions, but let's thank him for coming.
Appreciate it. Run out of time.
This young man right here in the front, come up and ask him your question personally. And I know there was a woman in the back who wanted to ask a question. We'll let him answer a few questions. If you're coming to lunch, meet us up here. Thank you. We'll see you next week.